once we are in there with a function, practice, game, meeting, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. Everything else has to stay outside.
On today's Top Shelf Tuesday edition of the Odd Coaches Podcast, Dr. Adams and Coach Francis discuss the impact of Deshaun Watson's hearing on the Cleveland Browns, as well as provide off-season NFL news and notes. Welcome to today's show. The Odd Coaches Podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with me today is my tag team partner. You're going to like this one. The Brock Lesnar to my Shelton Benjamin in the Minnesota stretching crew in OVW. The icon, the showstopper, the main event, and the reason why we are here, Coach Mike Francis. And Coach, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. How you doing today?
Didn't have the best night, but, you know, summer colds are not cool. But, hey, man, I am happy to be here with you. And on this Top Shelf Tuesday edition, we got a Deshaun Watson update. We've got a lot of off-season NFL news and notes, so let's jump into it. And, Coach, I'm looking at the Deshaun Watson situation from multiple factors, and I can't wait to get your thoughts on it. And I think how we break this down is going to be a little different than everyone else. So, one, the hearing is over. After 3 days, the NFL and the NFLPA laid out their cases. So Watson's fate rests in the hands of the league's jointly appointed disciplinary officer, Sue Robinson. She will make the decision on whether Watson violated NFL personal conduct policy. If he did, she'll also decide how long the suspension should be. So there's two options, Mike. Option one, no suspension. So if Robinson decides Watson did not violate the personal conduct policy, she can just simply rule that Watson doesn't deserve to be suspended. And if that happens, he's free to play the entire season. Watson's side is expected to point out, and this is something you and I have talked about privately over the months of this, Robert Kraft didn't get suspended for his alleged incident. That's out there. So the owner didn't get suspended, and you remind me all the time when we talk Dan Snyder that the owners are held to a higher standard than the players.
Should be.
And then that's what it is. We didn't make that up. And then your boy Jerry Jones never got punished, even though the Cowboys were admittedly involved in a voyeurism scandal that ended with their top PR guy unexpectedly retiring. So if scenario one happens, case is over. The NFL is not allowed to appeal that decision if she rules Watson did not violate the CBA. And that's something you've kind of held fast to, but begrudgingly kind of said, well, you know how the system is, 6 games. And I'm like, all right, this is probably what's going to happen. Scenario two, Watson gets suspended. So although the NFL is pushing for an indefinite suspension of Watson that would last 1 year, Robinson does not necessarily have to follow that guideline. The judge is free to suspend Watson for whatever length she sees fit. So if scenario two happens, the process won't necessarily be over because either side, if they don't agree with the length of the suspension, they are free to appeal. Mike, it appears that we are rounding third and headed home with this. Have you changed your mind about the 6-game suspension based on the information that came out of the appeal, out of the hearings, not even appeals hearings, the hearings?
No, I think it's going to be at least 6 games. I think so. I would think that would be a substantial amount of games lost and checks lost, and maybe the checks will be donated to a women's organization or something like that. I could see them doing that, but not suspending Jerry Jones, not suspending the guy in DC, not suspending the owner in New England. Like, you can't do that and then do this to the players, or everybody's going to have to get fined.
Mm-hmm. So Kareem Hunt, prominent member of the Cleveland Browns offense, addressed the possible suspension in a recent interview with Ashley Bascock of Cleveland.com. He talked about how stressful it is for them, the Browns organizational leadership, trying to navigate. It's tough because they're trying to figure out what pieces we have, because there's different plays, and this is your coaching hat. There's different plays for Deshaun. Mm-hmm. There's different plays for Jacoby, different playbooks, different things. I mean, I really don't know too much about the whole situation. If he misses it, it's a next man up mentality. We do talk about the situation, but we're more worried about ourselves. It's a business, man. And that's the biggest thing. You got to worry about yourself, because if you don't, you cannot be here. I love the fact that Kareem Hunt said it this way. Hey, look, I'm all for team and all of that, but I got to get my money and I got to take care of me. So Kareem Hunt said he spoke to Deshaun Watson, and he said, we talked a little bit. I'm going to keep it between us, but it's a lot. So I just wish him the best and tell him to keep his head up. Kareem Hunt also spoke to Baker. He said, I talked to Baker about a month or two ago. He's doing good. He was saying he was healed up nicely from the surgery, and he's good now. Coach, to end this segment, I want you to talk a little bit in detail about how athletes and teams compartmentalize noise surrounding them, as, without going into too much detail, both you and I have been in coaching situations where there's so much outside noise, it's hard to stay focused on the task at hand. Can you talk about your experiences with how athletes and teams compartmentalize just craziness surrounding them?
You have to make sure that you're constantly, and this is before you even get the distractions, in my opinion, you have to build up that wall long before, something happens. You have to make sure that you build that camaraderie and guys start to talk and keep the main thing the main thing. All right, that's what we talk about. Keeping the main thing the main thing. And understanding when we're in the locker room, we're in here for business. As a professional athlete, it's a business for you as a professional. You're making money. This is your job. Everybody at the post office would not be down there causing problems for each other, and neither should we, right? So you just got to talk to your players and make sure that you keep the main thing the main thing. I want a good locker room. I want us to be able to talk. I'm not saying we have to go home and sit in a circle and sing Kumbaya together, every day. But I will say, once we are in there with a function, practice, game, meeting, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. Everything else has to stay outside.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, we both have coached profile athletes who have a lot of outside influences. And one of the things that would be a challenge for me coming back is when I coached, I was able more so to control the narrative. I did have that nickname with John Thompson, and no, you're not going to talk about players before we do this. We don't do interviews right after games. We go down, get the talking points straight. And Fowler to this day jokes with me, said, I learned more about media relations working with you than I have anywhere else. And then, of course, Jake mentions the one time I break my own rules, and that interview that's out there somewhere with me cutting that promo. But I totally agree with you.
You too.
It is good to hear. It is good to hear from Kareem Hunt just talking about getting ready to play football, and I wanted to keep that segment separate because it's a big issue. So thank you for giving us this time, and we'll be right back on the Young Coaches Podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student-athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, there is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read. Former George Mason standout Fowler Campbell said, consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams, just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey. Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes. The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. And in segment 2, we're going to talk about a lot of off-field issues. And my partner, when he saw it, probably paused. But the title of this portion will be Today Was a Good Day. The NFL is teaming with, wait for it, Ice Cube. The league announced that it is partnering with Contract with Black America Institute, an economic inclusion initiative led by Ice Cube. Ice Cube said, "We feel like if you tackle the huge wealth gap between Black people and white people in this country, that should solve a lot of problems that's there. Our thing was to go after some of the biggest companies that rely on Black consumers or Black workers, and the biggest one we focused on was the NFL. The NFL has been working to increase economic equity and partnerships with Black-owned businesses. The partnership with Ice Cube's group will focus on identifying league-wide opportunities in the financial, health, tech, and production sectors, with a concentration on increasing direct and indirect spending to national Black businesses." So what do you think about this? Is this window dressing, or is this going to do something, Mike?
With Ice Cube, it's going to be something. I think that, people don't give him and Jay-Z enough credit for jumping in with the NFL and trying to do what they're trying to do. They are going to put forth some initiative and hold their feet to the fire to get some kind of change. I'm not saying it's going to make everyone change, because it's still a business, and those owners outside of the NFL, when they're doing business together, usually somebody says something that will slow down progress. Some people still thinking they're in 1886 and they act that way. Yeah, seriously, they don't think that some people are deserving of the chances that they had, and so business wise, it could be a problem. So it's good to see this. I just hope that I think the NFL is trying to catch up with the NBA. To be honest with you, that's what it's all about. NBA is a different breed. So
yeah, and Ice Cube already has the Big Three, which is a incredible platform. So we're going to keep our eyes on that. It's not just entertainment to them. Fans of the show know that during football season, whether it's college or pro, we have a segment strictly for entertainment purposes only, as we, lay our $10 bets and see what happens. The NFL recently named David Highhill as Vice President and General Manager of Sports Betting. This is the league's first position solely focused on overseeing its business in the legal sports betting industry. Highhill, who's been with the NFL for 10 years, moves over the corporate strategy group, where he led the league's go-to-market sports betting initiatives. So in this new role, he'll be tasked with leading efforts to protect the integrity of the game from gambling-related harm, advance the league's brand and reputation, and grow the value of NFL data and intellectual property, and drive fan engagement. And again, this is new because there's been a big pivot the last few years in the sports betting world. Advertisements for sports books aired during NFL games for the first time. Mike and I are still looking for a place to place our bets on a regular basis, and the state of Maryland's still slow because I like that place to be my couch. The league has also formed partnership with multiple sports betting operators, and official data is being sold to bookmakers. And locally in 2021, the Washington franchise was granted a sports betting license in Maryland. At the same time, the NFL doesn't want to irritate and oversaturate the gambling piece because part of its fan base is turned off by gambling. Mike, what would you say to the group of fans who say this is too much and I don't want my kid exposed to all of this betting and gambling talk? What say you, sir?
I don't want my kid exposed.
Yeah, man. The NFL is a family game, and then daddy.
NFL ain't never been a family
What's Bet
game.
MGM?
It's not. No.
Okay.
It's whatever you sell it to your kids. Maybe that's what you've been telling them. This thing been about money a long time ago. That's why we got the injury reports. That's why people get fined when the injury reports ain't done right. Whether it's questionable, not playing, like that's the major reason why you have an injury report.
Correct. So
that's it.
We will be looking deeply into the sports betting piece. So as we begin our preseason reports beginning next week, they'll be strictly for entertainment purposes only provisions. Of course, I'm looking forward to it, man, because it's my money. All right, Mike's spending my money. That's why he's like, hey, I'll pick whatever. Sure. Because Mike's talent, man, and he's super talented. Finally, with this segment, Mike, would you take this class? Cincinnati Bengals running back Trayvon Williams is headed back to school, and this time he'll be teaching. Williams will serve as an adjunct professor at Texas A&M's law school and will co-teach a class on NIL, college athletics, and athlete advocacy alongside sports attorney and business consultant Alex Sinatra. Williams played at Texas A&M for 2016 to 2018 and made the announcement during an appearance on Sinatra's Your Potential is Everything podcast. So if you're an undergrad, sir, or graduate student, is that a class you're signing up to take?
Well, if I'm an athlete, I'm definitely signing up to take that class. And I think if I'm the coach, I want to make sure all of them do. I got to get my athletes in that class to make sure they understand what's going on. And usually their freshman year would be nice so they can kind of get used to it. And I try to build that out, though, because if you take, one of those each year, at least one, that's 12 credits towards a degree.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Electives.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's what I'm saying. That's 12
Electives.
credits towards a degree, and it just so happened it may be offered in the football building. Who knows?
All right. Well, with that, fans, we're going to take one more break and come back with segment 3 of the Odd Coaches podcast.
There is an old business adage that says, what gets measured and monitored gets done. It is also fact that deadlines spur action. That is what the CKA Save Project academic monitoring service can do for student athletes. Measure and monitor their academic progress to improve their grades. Our academic monitoring services provide ongoing academic support for student athletes for a designated period of time. Our academic success coaches work with student athletes on time management and organizational skills, along with improving their ability to self-advocate. Every few weeks, our academic success coaches meet with student athletes to assess their academic progress, as well as provide ongoing academic advising. If needed, student athletes have access to CKA Learning Specialists who provide virtual core subject academic support for student athletes. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free virtual consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast in segment 3. Again, we have some follow-up stories before we introduce you to our formal preview. But Mike, more information has come out, and we do regret to report that Baltimore Ravens outside linebacker Jalen Ferguson died from a combination of the effects of fentanyl and cocaine, according to the medical examiner. Mr. Ferguson had 3 children, all under the age of 5. And I can't tell you how heartbreaking and sad this was. As a coach, we've talked over and over about the in-between times of athletes and how, when they aren't structured and don't have, accountability and aren't getting types of support, these types of things can happen. So I did want to wrap that story up, Coach, and see if you had anything else before we moved on, sir.
No, sir.
Okay. So now, shout out to JJ. Pay the man. All right. Washington Commanders wide receiver Terry McLaurin signed a 3-year extension worth up to $71 million in new money and places him among the NFL's 5 highest paid wide receivers. When we mentioned Terry McLaurin a few weeks ago, Mike was unfamiliar with his skill set, and some of our loyal listeners reached out and said, "Mike, you got to know Terry McLaurin. He's the best wide receiver for the Washington Commanders," and that still didn't impress my tag team partner. The 3-year extension includes a $28 million signing bonus, the largest given to any wide receiver, and also has 76.4% of the new money in the deal guaranteed. It contractually ties McLaurin to Washington through 2025 season. So this guy is wide receiver 1. Talk to me, man. Do we know who he is now?
I still don't know who he is, man. I couldn't pick him out in the lineup, bro. I don't know who that is. Like, the Redskins ain't win a game, so I don't know how you. I mean, I think all salaries should be based on your winning record or your winning percentage. Like, come on, man. What am I supposed to do?
He is also.
I'm supposed to know who the best receiver is on the worst team in the league, and the worst team in the division. That's my job. Loyal listeners.
His popularity, both in the locker room as a leader and with the fan base, would have resulted in a lot of displeasure directed at the Commanders if they didn't sign him. So we're looking forward to covering him. Don't lose to Jacksonville week 1.
Yay, we're going to win 6 games. Come on, man.
All right. So next week, fans, starts our official off-season NFL football coverage. We will start with the AFC North. That's Cleveland, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and the Baltimore Ravens. So I hope you tune in next week. And we have no idea how this is going to go, but we're very excited about it. Mike, anything to add before we close as we formally transition into, hey, we're going to talk about each division and break it down without Lindy Sports and Athlon Sports. Screw them. We don't need them.
Yeah. I look forward to starting out our second year of the NFL coverage. In case y'all didn't think we knew what the hell we was doing when we spot on with it again this year, we're going to see what happens sooner or later. Somebody going to realize.
Yes, indeed. So on behalf of my tag team partner, Coach Mike Francis, I am Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast. And we will see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.